My name is Robin Haynes. I'm the executive director at SIMBA, the Spokane Independent Metro Business Alliance, which is exactly why I say SIMBA, because that is a mouthful. And because we started in Spokane, but we serve all of Eastern Washington. And we are outreach partners with LNI, which is why we are bringing you this presentation today about food trucks. We know a lot of folks want to open a food truck, either have a food truck, they're in Lena's amazing food truck incubator program and they're ready to launch into the world and have their own food truck. So we have L&I here, and we also have the Spokane Regional Health District to speak today about Spokane specific requirements. So this is your chance at no risk, no reporting, no investigations. This is what I've been promised. To ask your questions if you have a food truck or know what you need to know before you start off. SIMBA not only has a contract with LNI, we have a contract with the Small Business Resiliency Network, which is Department of Commerce, and a few different grants and funders that allow us to provide these group meetings, but also one-on-one support. So if you need help with applying for one of these licenses or setting up an LLC or doing marketing or applying for a grant or fill in the blank, you can get support from us either one on one or in small groups, both in person or over Zoom. We also can travel to all of Eastern Washington at no cost to you. So if you need help with anything business related, grab one of these cards that has these two women business owners on it. One is a business in Spokane, Missouri. The other is a business in Pullman, Pacific Northwest Halal Meats. On the pink side, it tells you kind of things we can help with. On the back side, there's a QR code that allows you to fill a very short form out. We receive the form and we can connect you with the right staff person to help you with whatever you need. And you're not limited to one meeting. You can have more than one meeting. If we can't help you, sometimes we send you to other organizations like Latinos in Spokane who may have staff doing different things because we partner with a lot of other people. But we will either send you to the right person in our office or connect you externally. You can have as many meetings as you like. So definitely grab one of those, grab stickers, grab any fun, as Alexa said, fun L&I handout. We have many of them. And if there's one you're missing, we can definitely print it for you. My colleague, Alexis McLaughlin, is in the back. She is our business services and outreach associate. If you need help with social media marketing, web presence, Google optimization, all those other kind of things, Alexis is your person. She is our Canva queen. She'll help you with logos and outreach. I can do none of those things. So if you fill this form out and you ask to meet with me about social media, I'm sorry for your business. It's not my strong suit. I'm good with compliance and other things. I can talk to you about all the boring stuff. But I am going to introduce you now to Andrea Munoz from LNI. She is at the Small Business Office. She's going to tell you all about their program. We are very lucky to work with Andrea and Mo Tabor and Andrew Bryan and Carolyn Waldo, blanking on Carolyn's hyphenate, McCauley, to allow us to bring events like this to Spokane. We have a workplace safety program coming up. We are planning that. That will also be in Spokane because I didn't know, and I will confess now, and we have a plan now, so it's okay. Every single kind of business in the state of Washington must have a workplace safety plan. Every business, even if you're working by yourself from your house, you need a workplace safety plan. And if you have remote workers, they have to know what it is as well. So it will be a workplace safety plan for you. The best way to find out about our events is to sign up for our newsletter. There's a picture of a lion on the table. We occasionally make a cat pun in those newsletters just to keep it entertaining, but all of our events are on there and they're also on social media. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Andrea and leave it to you.
Thank you. Very thankful to be here. Thank you, Simba, for inviting us. My name is Andrea Munoz, and I am the Customer Experience Program Specialist. So I work with the Small Business Office, and we also work really closely with all our outreach contractors, and we're very happy that Simba is one of our outreach contractors. And my card is at the table, and if you don't have one, please let me know. I'll come around and give you one. So the Small Business Office, what we do is we're part of the Director's Office at LNI. So we want to know what small businesses are needing in the community. If you're having an issue reaching a certain program within LNI, please reach out to us. If we don't know, there's nothing we can help with, right? So what we don't know is what we need to know to help you as a small business owner. We offer presentations for small businesses. So primarily, as you're getting ready to hire, If you're thinking about starting your business and you know that in the future you want to hire, we're the group you want to go to. We'll teach you all about all our wage and hour laws, our safety laws, and then workers' comp. We do offer monthly webinars. They're free and they're about 75 minutes where we tell you all everything L&I. And so we offer these in English and Spanish, and then we can also do tailored one-on-one calls. So if you want to call us and do something like via Zoom, if it's easier for you or it's more convenient, we are also able to do that. Or if you have a specific need for, let's say, a group of business owners and you want us to come and present, we can also do that as well. So basically that's what we do. Like I said, we work for the director's office. So if you have an issue with any program or reaching a specific program, reach out to us and we'll see what we can do. And along with me today, I have invited two of my colleagues, and they work directly for the Factory Assembled Structures Group. This is Don Taylor. He's the regional supervisor here in this area, and the local inspector, Richard. Yes. So they're going to be here today talking to you more about all the regulations you need to know. Please ask the questions. They're here to just give you a lot of information and hopefully answer all the questions and any doubts you have. So with that, I'm going to pass it along to Don.
I don't need that.
Oh, yeah, you do.
Hi, everybody. I'm Don Taylor from Labor and Industries, and I am out of the Kennewick service location. So I came up to be with you folks tonight and share some information about food trucks. As she said, this is Richard. He's one of our two inspectors up here in the Spokane service location. So if you can't get a hold of me for whatever reason, these guys are here as a resource. If we have questions that develop after the meeting, they didn't get answered, didn't get asked, we're here for you. Absolutely. So food trucks is a very, very unique industry. It has everything from someone taking a horse trailer and turning it into a bar and then towing it to a wedding and wanting to serve alcohol, to a $300,000 40-foot long tilt-up walls facades unit that's made in Illinois or Ohio, and it's $300,000, and it comes with everything from an air conditioner to refrigerators to fire suppression systems, and you can cook whatever you want inside these things, and they are astronomically big and astronomically expensive. But the industry as a whole is a thriving industry. So if this is something you want to get into and you do it correctly, you can be very, very successful and have truck after truck after truck if you do things correctly. Our process, as many of you have probably experienced, it was very cumbersome over the period of COVID. When COVID hit, we had 8 people who were doing plan reviews to approve your plans to get your truck on the road. And so it took us almost 2 years to rebuild that. So during that 2 years, we ended up developing a backlog of being able to approve plans. It was about 2 years. It literally took you 16 to 18 months to get your truck approved. Now, if you have everything done, you went through a local engineer or architect and had some plans drawn, or you have the technical skills and abilities to draw a good set of plans, you can't draw them on a cocktail napkin with lipstick. It has to be a decent plan. It doesn't have to be a 1/4 inch per square foot, but it has to have a one-line drawing for electrical, plumbing, mechanical, fire suppression if you have it. And those things get sent to our plans examiners. They review the plan for accuracy, code compliance, and workability. And if they are in good condition, they return their plans around in about 6 weeks. And then you're out and you can build your truck and go to work. And so that's kind of what you're experiencing right now. What we experience in-house is, say, for instance, you have a food truck and you send us your plan and we have 12 corrections on that plan. You don't answer those 12 corrections timely, within 90 days, your plan goes to the bottom of the pile. And so it exacerbates the time that it takes to get your truck approved. Some things that there's a misconception about what is a food truck or a food trailer. If you don't have any of the 5 systems, MEP, mechanical, electrical, plumbing, fire suppression, or any gas piping, you probably don't have to go to plan review. but you will have to pass an inspection because the electrical, no matter how de minimis, if it's 120 volt or 240 volt, it needs to be looked at by one of our inspectors, okay? If you have potable water piping, it needs to be checked for compliance, but it may not necessarily have to go to plan review. If you have a fire suppression system, say you have a deep fat fryer or a griddle or something like that with an upblast fan and a fire suppression system, 100% of the time they have to go to plan review. It's in the building code that it's like a brick and mortar store. They have to go to plan review and have to be inspected and approved for compliance to make sure the nozzles are the right kind, that the suppression system is designed for what it is you're cooking, that the nozzles are in the right location to cover the area that may catch on fire, things like that. And so that's kind of what the plan review process is. Once that plan review process has been completed and you build your unit, then you can call for inspections. Rich or one of our inspectors will come to your site. You can't bring the truck to us. We don't have the means to connect them to potable water, and we don't have the means to connect them to electricity at our offices. So if you have that capability at your home, we'll travel to your home and do the inspection. If you don't have the ability to do it at your home, contact like a local RV park and say, hey, can I bring the unit in here? Because the plug-in mechanism and the water supply is the same for a recreational vehicle as it would be for a vendor unit. And so you can ask them, hey, can I park this thing in here for an hour, hook it up to services so the inspector can come? We're happy to come and do that. It doesn't matter where we inspect it as long as it gets inspected and approved. Once it's approved, you get an insignia from us, okay? It's a black and gold insignia. It identifies what the electrical service load was, whether it had heating and air conditioning, how many plumbing fixtures it had, whether it had gas piping, and all of that stuff is embossed on the insignias. And the insignias are, an example is in your folders on some of the pages. And once you are issued that insignia, you never have to see us again, ever, unless you make a major alteration to the mechanical, electrical, or plumbing, or fire safety, or the suppression system. If you alter any of those things, depending on the difficulty of what it is that you're altering, you may have to go back to plan review. Say, for instance, you have a working food truck now and you did not need a griddle or a deep fat fryer for what you were serving. Now you have changed that, or you want to change that to include those types of appliances. Once you include those types of appliances, we have to check the gas piping and make sure it's properly sized, that it can handle the BTUs of the appliances. You know, the fire suppression system would have to be installed at that point in time, and that's what would cause you to go back to plan review. Yes, sir.
What if we remove those items? Does that trigger a plan review?
It does. It does. Unfortunately, if you currently say you have a unit like you're describing that has all of those appliances and you want to downsize from the food or product that you're serving, you're still eliminating and you're changing the gas piping. You're still eliminating and changing the fire suppression system. You may have some effect because the fire suppression system is also tied into the electrical system, so that when a fire does occur and that fire suppression system activates, it turns off all of the electrical within the vicinity of the cooking equipment, and it also activates the upblast fan so that those two things work in conjunction. Yes.
So, Dawn, I forgot to lay the ground rules, and that is 100% my fault. If you want to ask a question, we're just going to give you the mic, even though it's not going to amplify your voice. That was my fault, so we can get it on the recording. But I will repeat, this gentleman asked a very important question. What if I remove some of those systems? So just for recording's sake.
Okay.
So I will give you the mic if you want to talk.
Okay, yeah, please, and interrupt me anytime. Anytime I say something and it triggers a thought and process in your head, then ask at that point in time so you don't lose it and may not, be able to come back to it. I want to be able to answer your questions as accurately as we possibly can tonight. It's a difficult process depending on the complexity of your unit. The more complex the unit, the longer it's in plan review, the longer obviously it takes you to build it, and the longer the inspections take in order to complete all of the things that we have to look at. And some of them, it's massive. You spend an hour and a half, 2 hours going over the electrical, plumbing, and gas piping on some of these units when we're doing an inspection, because it's very comprehensive. And the whole reason for it is there were two severe injuries that occurred. One was in Union Gap. A young lady was trapped inside of a coffee trailer. Her boss was tired of being robbed, and so he put a padlock on the outside of the door. As soon as the employees entered, he padlocked the door so that they couldn't get in there, get at the cash register. And they ended up having a fire in the unit, and the young lady, 15-year-old girl, had to throw herself out the serving window, and she didn't get injured because of the fire, but she got injured because of the way she landed. And so that, it went right straight to the legislature, and they wanted to know why. Why did this happen to a 15-year-old girl? The employer obviously got in all kinds of trouble for locking the young lady into a trailer. Then the other one was there was actually an explosion of one of these things. The gas tanks exploded at Seafair, of all places. You've got a couple 100,000 people at Seafair wanting to enjoy the hydroplane races, and they're walking up to some hot dog truck, and boom, the gas tank blows up, and because it wasn't properly sized, which caused a restriction in the flow of the gas, which caused an explosion, because once the gas let go, it was too much, and it just caused an explosion with the deep fat fryers. And so that's why the legislature said, hey, who can do this? And all the cities went, not us. And we got stuck with it. And so it's a mountain of work. I mean, a mountain of work. And we have how many inspectors statewide? 16. 14 inspectors statewide to do all of this, plus many, many, many other products. And the food truck industry is exploding. And the more of you guys there are, and the farther and farther behind we get, we encourage you to talk to your legislators to provide additional staffing. We have a very, very limited budget. And so we are only able to hire 14 people to do this work statewide. And we could easily use 30 to expedite the process. Richard's waiting time for somebody whose plans are approved on a Monday, you have to give him at least 7 to 10 days when you send in your inspection request before you pick a date for him to get there. And then he gets notified of that, and then he'll go, yeah, I might be able to make it in 10 days, but more likely it's going to be 14 days because these guys cover, I have 6 inspectors in Eastern Washington. We cover 40,000 square miles. 40,000. And we do all mobile home inspections. We do all medical units, portable medical units. We do all food trucks. I mean, it's just, we do school buildings. It's just a litany of product. Anything that falls under the NOMR of factory assembled structure. So it's built in one place and used in another place, because at the end user location, everything's been covered up by walls and sheetrock and whatever, flooring, whatever. It can no longer be seen. We have to go to that location. We have a food truck manufacturer called Craftsman Industries. They are the ones that you see with the elephant ears, those great big trailers you see at the fairgrounds. That's where those things are built. They're built in Indiana, Illinois, Ohio, and places like that. There's not too many manufacturers in Washington. There's a couple in California that build these gigantic things. Something to watch out for. Out-of-state product, out-of-country product. If you can buy a food truck on Amazon, don't do it. Okay, don't do it, because this thing came from China, or it came from someplace where they have no codes and they have no idea what our codes are, and they build it and they put in their advertising, this unit is compliant to work in Washington. It's a 100% lie, and we're working with the state's attorney general's office on a media outreach program to try to stop that internet commerce from taking place unless they are literally compliant units. If they're compliance unit, we want you to sell them. Absolutely, sell them anywhere and everywhere. But if they're not, don't claim that they are. We literally get calls, I would say on the average, probably 2 a month now, where people have bought a unit out of state or out of country, and they bring it to us, and we say, no way. There is no way you're ever going to bring this thing into compliance. And they've spent $200,000 on this unit, and you can't use it. You know, if you want to spend another $150,000 to tear it all apart and do what we ask you to do and make it code compliant for Washington, then knock yourself out. But why put yourself in that position, you know, if you have the information to not go down that road? That's not to say that units that are built out of state can't easily, and sometimes they are totally compliant. But for the most part, they're not. That's our experience. And so just be cautious in that area. Oh, you need a mic.
The out-of-state builders are advertising that these are LNI compliant. Doesn't matter if they're from Florida or whatever. You bring them to Washington, they'll pass. They won't. LNI compliant is that gold sticker. If it has it, then it's worth buying. Just because they said it, oh, we 100% this can pass it. These are national codes. It'll pass. They are not. They're failing epically. The builds are not up to par. That gold sticker is the only thing that means that we've looked at it and will pass. No verbiage, no signed paperwork. A lot of people are also applying for this process and showing you the application process and saying, look, LNI says it's okay. That's not. The gold sticker is the only thing that means it's good.
That's okay.
I'm gonna get
We
all
got
my
till 8
steps
o'clock,
in
man.
during this event. I wore the wrong shoes.
So working with like builders in Portland right now, like they're saying that when I get my trailer, it'll have the sticker on it, but like everything's gonna be built from scratch. Should I be concerned about that? Like as long as it has a sticker on it, I'm good, right?
You are.
Like I'm-
Absolutely. One of our inspectors went to that location and did the inspection. And once it passed the inspection, we installed the insignia. So yeah, absolutely. Good for you to ask the question. Another thing that's becoming very prevalent is sticker theft. It's a hot commodity, okay? People want the sticker, and they will go to your trailer at night, and they'll take a straight blade razor blade, and they'll carve it off of there, and then they'll take it, and they'll put it on theirs. We put the VIN number, the vehicle identification number, is on the insignia that is tied to either the trailer or the vehicle. Anything and everything that is towed down a public street has to have a VIN, and we put the VIN directly on the insignia, so they tie together.
So what happens if someone steals my sticker? Who do I report that to?
To us. You provide us with the information from the original passing package. We will cut you a new insignia. I think it's like $16.80, and we'll come out and we'll put the sticker back on. What I recommend, and it's only a recommendation, but it seems to work, you can go to a big box store and buy, they call them non-reversing screws. They use them in the prison system. And so you can tighten them, but you can't loosen them. And so take a piece of plexiglass, drill 4 holes in the corners, put the tag on, we'll put the tag on, you put your piece of plexiglass on it with non-reversing screws, and then it's safer. Is it bulletproof? No, obviously not. If someone's determined, they will get it off of there and they will steal it. And so there is an avenue for replacements. Each and every alteration, say for instance you have a truck that's been approved and now you want to upgrade it, downgrade it, whatever, and it requires an inspection, then we issue a second insignia with an A at the end of the original serial number. The serial number will be the same, and then it'll be a hyphen and then A for alpha, meaning it was altered. And each time you alter it, you get another sticker. So you could end up, with 4, 5, 6 of them, depending on how often you alter the thing. And so it just depends on how often you do that kind of work. What else?
Just
Hold on.
And then just for clarification, on both packets that Don included, when he said who you report that to, there's that FAS1 email address and the 1-800 number. That's where you want to report that to.
Very good. Yeah, one side of the folder that I gave you is everything to get your truck started. The other side is alterations. I included a list of the fire suppression installers and testers in that document. It was, however, created by a fire marshal from Burlington, Washington. And so there's only like 3 companies that he listed from the Spokane or Eastern Washington area. Most of them are from the other side. But if you contact somebody, any of the fire suppression companies that do, brick and mortar stores here, they'll also do your truck. And so there are just as many over here in Eastern Washington as there are in Western Washington. But that guy's from Western Washington. And so he primarily focused on Western Washington installers of fire suppression systems.
So if I'm buying a truck that already has a sticker on it, How do I know it's a real sticker?
You can
'Cause I can
call-
print anything on the internet.
You
right?
can call us. You can call any of our inspectors, any of our field offices, provide them the information, and they can route it to FAS1. If you want to circumvent that, just send the email to FAS1. This is the VIN on this truck. It has an insignia. Take a picture of the insignia, send in the VIN, and you'll have an answer within. We have 4 people that are dedicated in Olympia, where the plan review staff and all of those people are. We have 4 people there that are dedicated to that FAS1 mailbox, email box, so that you get your answers timely. Typically same day, sometimes the next day, but they're very, very quick. Because, I mean, you know, this industry, it comes with a lot of angst. I mean, you guys are investing your lives and your fortune into this thing, you know, and then for an inspector or somebody to have a cavalier attitude is not okay with me. The guys that we have are very dedicated, and they're customer-centric people. They want to make sure that you get what you need in a timely fashion. Are we always going to have the ability to agree? No, we are regulators, and some people don't like regulation. Some people don't understand regulation, but we have a job to do. It is for public safety, and that's the entirety of it. If you ever experience bad inspector behavior from anybody in Eastern Washington, my card's over there, my email address is on there, my cell phone number's on there, my desk phone number's on there. You call me, and we will have a separate conversation with that inspector. And so I just don't tolerate it. It's not who we are. You know, in our agency has changed a lot. We were a feared agency. We're big mongers, you know, and we're not. We have a lot of very, very dedicated, deeply involved people who want to make sure that the customer gets what they need, that they get it timely, that it's accurate. They don't have to make phone call after phone call after phone call. Do I know everything? No, I don't know everything. But I know who to call to get the answer to get you to the right person. And so does this young lady over here. We do have that ability to resource and leverage the people that have the know and get them, you know, get you to them. So. Yes, miss.
So I know we touched base on like purchasing a trailer that has the LNI sticker and everything on it. I guess I'm asking you, what are your tips on building a trailer? I know a lot of people around here have built trailers from the ground up with like enclosed trailers and stuff like that. Do you need a licensed electrician, a licensed plumber? How do you go about that?
Okay, those are both misnomers. The last 2 things you said, that you have to have a licensed plumber and a licensed electrician, there is a provision in both of the laws that govern electricians and govern plumbers, and one of them is that says any homeowner or owner can do their own plumbing and can do their own electrical work without any certification, without any licensing, but it does have to have inspection. And so that's a misnomer. If you feel comfortable in wiring a food truck trailer and make it code compliant, and you have the skills, or you want to read and learn and do it, absolutely. Be our guest. You can't call Richard and say, hey, Richard, how do I do this? Because we are not allowed to lay out work. And the main reason is, if we tell you how to lay it out and install it, and then you do it that way or close to that way, and it doesn't perform to your expectation, who's going to get yelled at? Richard. And so I do my level best to make sure Richard doesn't get yelled at. And so, you know, but no, the best advice I have for you, and I know it's expensive, an engineer or an architect to do your one-line drawings. It's expensive, but they're fast, they're accurate, they're super knowledgeable, and they put together a packet, they send it to us, our examiners look at it, they go at it from page 1 to page 90, and they're done. You know, and it goes that much quicker. Like I said, the lipstick on the cocktail napkin, those go a little slower. It's, you know, when somebody has a fat pencil and their truck's upside down and sideways and they want to show us all kinds of things that doesn't matter to us, it takes time of the reviewer to go through that information, determine whether it's applicable or not, and if it's not, he moves on to the next page. But it's a page that he wasted 5, 10, 15 minutes on trying to figure out what are they trying to tell us. So invest. It's only advice. We can't make you do it. but invest in an architect or an engineer or a friend who has that skill set. You know, you'd be surprised, one of the high schools, they all have a drafting program. You know, go visit with a teacher and say, hey, who's your top student? You know, will this student, if I give him this work, will he do extra credit? Will he get something out of it? And they draw the thing up for you and it passes. Kudos to you for thinking that way, you know, thinking out of the box and getting the stuff inspected and approved. That's the critical thing, is getting it through plan review. Takes the longest. And unfortunately, you guys are your own worst enemy, because like I said, if you don't answer one item, we send you send everything in and there's one item that doesn't pass and we send you an email. We prefer to do all of our communication by email because it memorializes the conversation on both sides. Nothing gets lost in translation. And so everything's written down. So they prefer to do it that way. And we send you one correction and you don't see it, or it goes to your spam folder or something, and 90 days go by, you're at the bottom of the pile of 1,200 plans that are ahead of you, and you were at the top. So watch your email, watch your spam email, and get those things answered, get them back to us so we can approve your plan, and then within a week or two, we can be at your site and approve your truck. And once you meet with that young lady over there and you pass everything that they ask of you, we work in conjunctions with all of the health departments in every county that's in Eastern Washington. We have a relationship with all of them. We just recently, how long ago did we do the fire department event up here? A couple months ago, we went and met with 19 fire marshals at one of the Spokane fire stations, and we told them basically the same thing that we are telling you, a little bit more technical. And we shared with them. And then I think it was a week after that, they had an actual one-day event where you could bring your truck to a parking lot and they would have a bunch of fire marshals there. You called them, I think, and you made a time slot, and then you showed up and they looked at your truck, and if it was compliant, they gave you your permit to operate from the fire marshal's office. Then obviously you also have annual inspection requirements from the health department. And we rely on the health departments and the fire marshals for uninspected, unapproved alterations. Okay, so they walk in, and in a food truck, if something looks hokey, it probably is hokey, and it was probably altered, and it's probably not code compliant. And so we ask them to give you the information, to reach out to us and let us determine whether what you did or what was done is code compliant or not, and whether you had to have an inspection or not. You know, it's not about the money. For us, it's just not. It's all about public safety. So.
I have another question.
Yeah, please.
Are you able to explain? I kind of went through an inspection process with you guys already. Can you kind of explain like an exempt plan and then a non-exempt plan? Just because I feel like that's something I didn't know until I was able to get an exempt form, because my trailer was a smaller trailer. But yeah, I think that's something that I feel like a lot of people would benefit from.
Very, very good question. In every packet that I handed out to you is the plan review exempt document. You can go to our website, type in plan review, vendor unit plan review exempt, and they will take you right to that page. But on that page, it describes if you have, I think it's a 9-part test, and if you are able to answer no to all of those, you are exempt from plan review. If you answer yes to any of them, you're required to go to plan review. And so as long as you can say no to all of them, you are plan review exempt. You are not inspection exempt, but you are plan review exempt, which cuts down the time frame a lot, because you then just simply make sure. We have a 4-page handout, which is also in there, which is a pre-inspection document. And we ask you to go through that, make sure you can say yes to all 4 pages of the questions in there. If you don't understand a question, because it's written by a bunch of technical junkies, and so if you don't understand a question, call one of the inspectors and ask them. They're happy to tell you what it means. They just can't lay out the work for you, but they're happy to tell you what we're trying to convey, or what the code is trying to convey, so that you can get it correct and get it inspected. But that's a very, very good question, because a lot of units are plan review exempt, simply by design, by the way they're constructed, what it is they're going to serve. They're not exempt from annual inspections from the health department, and they're not exempt from a one-time inspection from us to get their insignia. Once they have that, then they're done. That answer it for you? Okay, good. Yes, sir.
I got a question about you guys' food trailers and food carts.
Okay.
Okay. On a food trailer, you need inspection, but on the food cart, what type of inspections do you need for that?
You need that young lady over there. You need nothing from us. If you, say, for instance, you have a hot dog cart, you push it around and you serve hot dogs off of it, or you serve whatever, prepackaged food, whatever. No one is inside of it working, and the public can't stand at a serving window to get food. It's a food cart. It needs no inspection from Labor and Industries, even if it is electrically connected so that you can keep your hot dog water warm and the buns toasted and whatever. It's still electrically connected, but it's a push cart, or even if it's a small pull cart, or you see those, the weird little ice cream mushroom looking things, you know, some of those are exempt depending on what's in them and what they're doing. They're exempt. Some of them are not exempt because they have hand washing sinks and they have plumbing and they have electrical service panel over 30 amps because they want to keep their ice cream cold and whatever. And so some of them are exempt, some of them are not. But for the most part, all food carts that you stay outside of, the vendor stays outside of it and the customer stays outside of it, they are exempt from our requirements. They still have to meet health department requirements.
Okay, go ahead.
Sorry, I just want to kind of piggyback off of that. So we're doing pizza. We're gonna pull a pizza trailer, and like refrigeration and stuff like that will be on our truck. So we'll be working exclusively outside. But because the truck has electrical and plumbing, it needs to be inspected.
No.
Oh, perfect.
If people are not going inside to work it, you're going in to grab a bag of ice. You're going in to grab more pre-made pizza product, whatever. It's only being used to transport product. Nobody works inside of it. Then you're exempt. You still need to visit with the health department.
And they've got a new requirement, I believe, with Eric, that if it has electrical, that they're requiring you to come back for L&I now.
Well, we're going to send them away. The statute, I'm sorry.
Repeat
yeah,
that for the
let's-
crowd.
We'll make sure we take turns. Go ahead,
Yes.
Rich.
So, in talking with Eric, he's specified that a previous cart has only had electrical, like a 110 outlet, and he didn't want your inspectors in there. So he's sending them back to us and saying that you have to have an L&I insignia before your guys will go in there because he doesn't want to put you guys at risk. That's what they're saying here.
Okay.
Is that true?
No, we will send you back. Again, if people are working inside of it, people are working inside of a truck or a trailer, and public can walk up to a serving window and order their food and be delivered their food, you need to have our inspection. If you don't need anything from us. You need the health department approval, but you don't need anything from us. I just had a conversation with a gentleman. I don't know if it was you, but basically the same thing. They're towing this great big trailer, and that has a big gigantic egg oven on it where they make pizzas in it. But everything they take to prepare the pizzas is in a truck. It has lights in it. It has electrical in it. It has a remote generator. It has all of these weird things. But because no one is going in there to serve the public, there's nothing required. Not from us. From the health department, yes.
And that might be another statement. There's various other things that we will approve you on. For instance, we don't care what your refrigerator is. All I see on your print is you have a refrigerator. The health department has certain models that are required. So oftentimes you guys will come through me and say, well, L&I approved it. I don't know what the health department's requirements are for a refrigerator, like brands or model numbers or whatever. I just know what's on the print. So then you come to the health department. So we often say, also verify your appliances with the health department. That it's just work together with both of us, because just because I say yes to you doesn't mean they're going to. And usually it creates conflict. If I pass you, you guys will come to them. You'll be upset with them and me at the same time. And and it's not that we're trying to pin one on the other. It's just I don't have rules. Your brand of refrigerator or how cold it gets doesn't matter to me. I'm a construction aspect. So we often say verify also with the health department their requirements for brands, temperatures, things like that. I'm more of a construction nature.
Yeah, Rich is right on the money. We look at mechanical, electrical, plumbing, fire safety, and fire suppression. If the only thing the building code that governs these units says is that they must be secured to the unit for transit, and so they have to be secured to the structure. I'm glad I'm entertaining. So, that's just, we don't, like you said, we look at if the refrigerator, we get the technical data sheet about the refrigerator, and it tells it has to be on a dedicated circuit, 120 volt, 20 amps. That's what we're going to look at. I don't care if it's made by Sunbeam or Horizon, or I don't care whose refrigerator it is. It doesn't matter to me. Only thing that matters to me is that it's secured to the structure, and that the overcurrent protection requirements and the wiring, circuit wiring, has been made compliant for the appliance. Same with, if you have a coffee truck and you have, those things are actually a boiler. And they're dangerous. Those the espresso machines, they're dangerous. They're a boiler, and they can explode, and they can put a big divot in the earth when they go off. And so we look at that. We make sure that the overcurrent protection is right, that the drain is right, that it's secured as it's supposed to be, that it has the proper water supply, that it has the ability to drain any gray water away. Those are the things that we look at. But I don't care whether it's a Bunn coffee maker or who cares. It's not my deal.
I know we say that the code, OSHA, WISHA, LNI is written in blood, and you're giving us some examples, but maybe some less graphic examples. What are the most common reasons that food truck inspections fail?
People don't know how to plumb, and they don't know how to wire. Okay? A layperson, and it's understandable. They don't know what a Y fitting is versus a P-trap versus a Santee, an auto vent, or whatever. They have no idea what we're talking about, and so they go to the big box store, and he sells you whatever he wants to sell you to get you out the door so he can get to the next customer, and then you're stuck trying to assemble this stuff, and it's upside down, it's backwards, the flow is incorrect, and it just goes on and on and on. They tell you you can use certain wiring methods that are approved, and they're not approved. There are very specific wiring methods, meaning the type of material that is used, how it's grounded. There's a difference between grounding and bonding, and all of these things are technical terms that are familiar to code people. They're unfamiliar to a layperson, and so they struggle with those kinds of things. I think our folks do their very level best to try to make people understand when we come and do an inspection and we fail it. Here's the way I do business. I go do the inspection and I ask them, please let me complete my inspection. I will document anything that I find that's not compliant, and hopefully we don't find anything that's not compliant. But if we do, at the conclusion of the inspection, I will go through it with you step by step, explaining what it is that we're trying to talk about and make you understand, so that the next time I come and visit your truck or trailer, it will pass. That's my goal. I have so limited resources. I want you to pass first time out, every time. And it's a very rare thing. Go ahead, Rich.
The other thing is, even the big box stores, Home Depot, Lowe's, all that, they're selling products out there that are not UL listed. You're able to buy them from Amazon. That's also the biggest thing we're finding is folks are doing this themselves. They're trying to save money. I ordered this pipe from Amazon. I ordered it from Lowe's. Just because you get it there, look for the UL listing. If it's not UL listed, we can't have it in your truck. It's not a listed product.
Underwriter Laboratories, and there is a list in there. It's a 4-page pre-inspection checklist that we give people, that we ask them to go through before they call us to have their truck inspected. And it lists a lot of the codes. And you can simply go in onto the internet, and I tell you, you have to have an IAPMO approved or NSF approved gray water tank. And you're going, oh, what? And then you go onto the internet and say, what is a 40-gallon IAPMO or NSF approved holding tank for a recreational vehicle? Because it's basically the same thing. And it will show you. It will show you, it will tell you, and it's directly stamped on every plumbing fitting and every electrical fitting, no matter how small, has to be stamped either by UL or UPC, IAPMO, NSF, what are some? I mean, there's a whole bunch of regulatory bodies out there, and every part and every piece has to have a stamp on it to show that it's an approved piece to be used in the United States. Like Rich said, literally, they're coming from China. These things are coming from China, and they're wired with Chinese technology, Chinese parts, wire we have never seen before. Electrical outlets we've never seen before. We have no idea what their durability is, how they are tested. Are they safe? Are they not safe? And so we just reject them as a whole. And we tell you, good luck. Good luck. That's why we're working so hard with the state's attorney general's office to try and deal with this internet commerce that's out there. It's so misleading and it's so unfortunate, and it harms so many Washingtonians because, like I said, I mean, they have saved for years to come up with the $60,000, $70,000 to go buy this truck that they saw on Amazon, and then they buy it and it comes here and it's not going to pass. No way, no how. And you can't get your money back.
So a follow up onto that, but first a plug for Simba because we support independent and local Eastern Washington businesses. So if you're looking for local hardware shops who are going to have approved things, they're also on Live Local, and your business can be on Live Local for free. But once I get my medallion and everything's going great, I did a few things wrong when I met with Rich, but I got them fixed right away. What might get my medallion pulled or my sticker?
If you make an alteration without an inspection or approval, and it's dangerous. It's a judgment call by the inspector. It is dangerous. It is an imminent danger to life and health of the occupant of the unit or the public that they're trying to serve. We're going to take your medallion. We're going to call them right away. We're going to call the fire marshal's office, and we're going to say, we pulled this tag for these reasons. This person's not allowed to operate. We're not the vendor unit police, okay? We don't go chase you around. We don't go to events to see who has a tag and who doesn't have a tag. Should we? Yeah, we probably should, but we don't. At this point in time, I have no mechanism to issue anyone an infraction for doing something illegal in the vendor code. In all of our other codes, I can write tickets. I can write an administrative citation to someone, and then you're on the hook for the monetary penalty. And if you don't pay, then pretty soon you end up in court. Nobody wants that. We want you to have a compliant, safe unit for you, your occupant, something you can pass on through the family, and it's going to work and perform for years. That's what we want. We don't want to have to harass people to make sure they have a compliant unit.
And when you say alterations, like what if I change the paint because I bought someone else's? Is that an alteration?
No.
I see a head nodding, but
Very good. Very good. That's a very good thought process. Flooring. You don't like what's on the floor. I have no regulation on what's on the floor. The health department may, but I don't have any regulation what's on the floor. It can be diamond plated, it could be plank flooring, it could be linoleum. I don't care. But they do. And so that's why Rich pointed it out earlier, and we have this conversation with every client. We've given you the information that you asked about. Please call your local health departments, if you're going to work in multiple counties, because each and every one of them has their own. Some of them have a consortium where one health department covers multiple counties. But for the most part, they all have their own health officials, and they want to regulate that part for their public. And so, certain things, we just don't care. If you have, say, for instance, you have LED lights on the ceiling and you want to replace a different kind of LED light because it's brighter, it's nicer, it's more attractive to the public, knock yourself out. I don't care. Like for like, change it. I don't care.
One other person you might want to verify with. We've only had two that I'm aware of that are extremely different going down the road in their structure build. Check with WSDOT if you're going to build something that's not standard trailer. If it's got a ginormous roof system, if it might not make it under a bridge, bring it over to DOT or Washington State Patrol and just have them look at it before you finish your build and bring it to us.
Good point, Rich.
It might not be legal to go down the road.
Good point. There are width restrictions and there are height restrictions, and if you don't follow them, they will cite you and they will park you on the side of the road. And until you get a pilot car for the front and a pilot car for the back, and you have an established route, they are not going to let you move it. And so you got to make sure, just like Rich said, if you have a unit that has a 14-foot, 10-foot high roof height, you have to have a pilot car in the front and the back because of certain bridges are less than that, and so you have to do that. It's not to say you can't do it, but it limits where you can go, one, and it limits how you get there by having to endure the cost of having a pilot car in the front and the back in order to get you from point A to point B.
So I'm thinking about opening a business with a food truck, and I have two options, hypothetically speaking. I'm not going to pursue this once I leave here. I'm thinking about building one or purchasing one that I'm not sure. It's been inspected. I've gone around it. I don't see a sticker. So more than likely, it needs a plan review. And I'm going to be drawing those plans myself. Is there a guide or a resource available for me that the department has that I could use to kind of guide myself as I know what I need to list on this plan review that I can reference to?
Yes, they're in the packet. I put in an example of what it is that we want to see on the plan, typically the one-line drawing. It's a drawing looking from the sky down through the roof of your unit, and it shows the water piping on one. We prefer to have them separated. You don't have to have one for drain waste vent piping. You do not have to have a one-line drawing for that, but you do have to have it for gas piping, you do have to have it for water piping, and you have to have it for electrical, and you have to have it for fire suppression if your unit is required to have a suppression system. So those are the four schematics that you have to have. The other thing that you'll want to identify is super concentrated loads. Like I said, they have this gigantic pizza oven. The thing probably weighs 3,000 pounds. I mean, it is just this gigantic egg lined with bricks and stuff, and they cook pizza in there. Well, they have a concentrated load over 500 pounds. That is something that requires plan review, requires modification to the transportation chassis and those types of things, and those are things that we want to look at.
Since we're talking pizza, I'm sorry.
You're like, let me talk about
But if you're working on the outside of the trailer, you don't need a plan review, even though it's over 3,000 pounds.
Right.
Over 500.
You need nothing from us. You might want to talk to DOT or WSP.
So let's say that you have a food truck that has been approved in the state of Washington, so you have the gold sticker, but you also want to operate in Oregon or other states. Do those regulations like are compliant with each?
No, I understand exactly what you're saying, and Washington is probably the most difficult state in order to get a food truck approved. So, with that being said, if it's 100% compliant here, could there be some unusual rule in Oregon or Idaho or someplace that we're unfamiliar with that you might have to make a correction to get their approval to operate in their jurisdiction? Yeah, it could happen, but we are by far nationwide the most stringent as far as food truck safety. So I would hope that your unit would pass in Oregon and Idaho, but I can make no such guarantees.
I am Amy. I work at Spokane Regional Health District. I'm a health inspector, and we're just going to talk a bit about permitting requirements. If time allows, I have a little bit more information about just mobile specific food requirements, but for now we'll just start with permitting requirements. All right, so we're going to talk about our definition of a mobile food unit, permit categories for Spokane Regional Health District, what is reciprocity, and our plan review process. So our code, the Washington State Retail Food Code, defines a mobile food unit as a readily movable food establishment. Pretty easy. Our permit categories are a mobile unit with an approved kitchen, a mobile unit supplemental to an approved kitchen, a mobile unit additional, which is a really limited category, or a temporary food establishment. So for mobile units with approved kitchen, that's going to be most of our mobile units. That's people who don't have their own brick and mortar. They're going to be working out of a commissary kitchen, and they have a mobile food unit. So these permits are $630 annually. They do require a commissary agreement, and they have one routine inspection per year at either the commissary or at an event. The mobile unit supplemental category is $340 annually, and this is specific to brick and mortars who have a restaurant established, and then they also have a mobile food unit. So like locally, Good Dia is a good example of that. They have their own brick and mortar. They also have a mobile food unit. And this category also includes self-contained units, and we'll talk a little bit about that in a minute. And they also get one routine inspection per year at either the restaurant or an event. The mobile unit additional category, these are only $120 annually, but they are very limited to exclusively freezer trucks, like a Schwann's truck. And all of those recently closed, so I don't even know if we have any of these permitted in Spokane currently. But if you were to have one, they also get one routine inspection per year. The other option would be to operate as a temporary food establishment. The price would depend on your operation, the food that you prepare, the complexity. We still require L&I approval, even if you don't have a mobile food unit permit. This would be for like people who are coming from out of state maybe, or some other county in Washington state, and they want to operate at Pig Out in the Park or something like that, but they don't want to go through our whole plan review process and get a permit issued that way. You can operate as a TFE off of your mobile unit if you have your L&I approval when it's actually required. So what does self-contained mean? We have very few mobile food units that have actually been approved for this, but it is possible. You have to contain your entire operation on your food truck if you don't have a commissary. So that means you have to be able to store all of your equipment, all of your food, all of your single service, single use items, any of your linens, utensils, all of that have to be stored on your unit, which means a lot of people end up having to do like daily shopping trips instead of storing their food on their truck overnight. If you want to be self-contained, you have to be approved through us for that. We do calculations based on your operation, like number of employees, what your waste and freshwater capacity are, things like that. That's how we help calculate what your capacity needs to be in order to be self-contained. Question for L&I, if someone changes the size of their water tanks, does that count as changing plumbing?
Yes.
Okay, good to know. Like I said, there's no commissary kitchen required for this permit category. No advanced preparation is allowed off of the unit, so no prepping in your own kitchen at home. If you plan to store your TCS or time temperature control for safety foods on your unit overnight, we require a data logger or a continuous temperature monitoring system for that, and we do not allow cooking and cooling on the unit. Basically, it's easiest to have a commissary, but if you want to go this route, it is possible.
Can you explain what a commissary kitchen is?
Absolutely. A commissary kitchen is a space that you rent to do your dishes, to store your food, to prep your food, to cool your food, all of those things. You rent a kitchen space for that. So we do have like local commercial kitchens that are specific commissary kitchens, but you can also, some people will operate out of church kitchens that have been approved to be operated out of, so long as they're approved through us. Restaurants maybe that have odd business hours, you can ask them. Or maybe they're closed one day a week, or maybe they only operate at night. I know that we're pretty limited locally right now on commissary space. So if you have questions, there are other options out there other than just Googling a commissary kitchen, because you may have a hard time finding a time slot that works for your schedule. And if that's the case, there are other options. Does that answer that?
Yes.
Perfect. So there's also something called reciprocity in Washington state. This is pretty new. So the definitions in the code, a mobile primary permit would be a permit issued by a regulatory authority to operate a mobile food unit within the jurisdiction where the business is primarily located. And a secondary permit is in a health jurisdiction outside of that primary county. So we have some people who have food trucks in Western Washington who are going through plan review there, and then they'll go through the reciprocity process with us. So we have a form. It is on that back table, along with every other form pictured in this presentation. The secondary permits, in that example, if someone's operating primarily out of Clallam County, their secondary permit would come through Spokane Regional Health District. Yes.
You have a mic.
Oh, I do have a mic. Never mind. So that's becoming very common because folks who in this industry, they struggle going from county to county to county and having to submit plans to each one. When it was just approved in King County, why do they have to come to Spokane County and do it again? I just had a meeting a week ago with Andrea and Walla Walla, and Walla Walla was sharing with us that they have entered into reciprocity agreements with their bordering counties. So if you had one approved in Columbia County through a plan review process by the health department, then when you come to Walla Walla, you just provide that proof, and that's a reciprocity agreement. You don't have to resubmit the plans and or have them approved. They look for the LNI insignia, make sure it was inspected by a fire marshal as it's supposed to be, and they're ready to go and operate.
I'm sorry, guys. I just.
It's okay.
It's okay.
Questions are good.
Literally
Yeah.
the reason we're having this.
Oh, yeah.
So with the reciprocity agreement, does every county recognize that? Or is there just
They
certain-
should. It's part of the retail food code. I can't speak for every county, but they should be doing that. So in Spokane County, and these requirements that I'm about to read off are listed in the code, and it should be the same requirements for every county. So you would submit the application form. Every county will have their own application form, but with that application form, these are the code requirements. A copy of the current mobile food unit permit from your primary county of operation, a copy of the completed and approved plan review from that primary county of operation, the most recent inspection report from that primary county, any commissary agreements that the applicant is required to maintain under that permit in their primary county, and then restroom or local commissary agreements as necessary for Spokane County. We charge a $60 administrative processing fee, and if your plans are approved in Jefferson, Clallam County, King County, Tacoma Pierce, whatever, we have to approve them. We have to accept them as is, and that's how the reciprocity system works. So it should help streamline the process for people who are hoping to start operating outside of their primary county without having to spend an arm and a leg on plan review and having to have all of these different requirements that contradict each other. So if you want to apply for reciprocity here, we need the application and all required documents at least 14 days prior to operation. Your permit category would be determined based on your original permit in your primary county of operation. You would renew your permit annually through Spokane Regional Health District, and you would have an inspection in each county that you are permitted in. Every county has their own inspection routine based on permit category. Here, you would have one routine inspection per year. So our plan review process for the submission requirements, and all of this paperwork, again, is over there on that table. We require the the mobile unit plan review packet, and all of those forms are also available on our website in fillable form if you would prefer to type them. You need a food establishment application. We charge a $240 submittal fee, which covers your first hour and a half of plan review. We require a floor plan and a finish schedule, and we'll go over more what the finish schedule means. An equipment list, menu and food preparation steps, your proposed itinerary if you have it, and written approval from LNI. So our mobile unit plan review packet and checklist. The front page looks like this. You want to fill that out completely, as with LNI. The more thorough you are and the more accurate you are, the first time you submit your plans, the less you're going to spend, 100%. The more back and forth we have to do, we have to charge for every phone call, every single conversation once you enter the plan review phase. So ask questions before you start plan review, and be as thorough as possible when you fill out these plan review packets. The checklist is on page 2 and 3, and each item on that checklist has a little bit more information on it. And then pages 4 through 6 provide additional information. And then if you have more questions on that, you can ask me now, or you can call the health district and we'll hook you up with an inspector. What's up?
So can I submit the same plans I submitted to LNI to the health department for
Depends
the
on
plan review?
what part of the plans.
So the slide before said you needed to send a floor plan. So typically when someone sends the plan review to LNI, it's kind of like a floor plan, but it's a little bit more detailed because it has
Sure.
all the technical things. Is
Like
that
a plumbing
sufficient?
schedule,
Yes.
and yes,
Is
we
that
we
sufficient?
love those.
Okay.
Yeah, those are great. We do accept hand-drawn plans, but when you have your plumbing schedule on there, that's pretty great for us.
Following up on that, I think Rich mentioned that we don't care what kind of refrigerator you have. Does the plan for the regional health district require like the brands of appliances?
We don't have certain brands we require, but we do have certain NSF requirements for cold holding units specifically. Do not buy home refrigeration units for your mobile unit. Just don't do it, because you'll have to have a commercial unit, and there's maybe a chance, I don't know anything about electricity, but those commercial units may require more electricity and a bigger, voltage than your typical residential fridge. The reason we require commercial refrigeration units is because they are designed to be in a hot environment. They're designed to be open and closed repeatedly, and your residential refrigerators are not. If you had a thermometer in your fridge at home and you paid attention, it takes very little time for that temperature to go above 41 degrees, and they don't have big cooling systems, so get the airflow going to make sure everything stays within temp. Okie dokie, this is our food establishment permit application. Again, fill it out completely. Up at the very top, it says physical address. This would be the physical address of either the commissary kitchen or the restaurant where you are doing the restaurant that you're using as a commissary. If you're a self-contained unit, the physical address would likely be your home address. And then make sure you sign and date it, because we have to get it back from you again if you don't do that, which surprisingly happens a lot. Floor plans. This is an example of a floor plan that we love to see. Should be to scale, preferably. We don't require architect drawings, so if it's not perfectly to scale, that is okay. We might just have to verbally confirm with you the distance, maybe of a hand washing sink from a dishwashing area or something along those lines. Your floor plan should show sinks, refrigeration units, major appliances. Preferably your plumbing schedule for indirect drainage would be on there. So indirect drainage is required for any ice machines, espresso machines, prep sinks, if you have those in your food truck, require indirect drainage. So we love to see where your floor sinks are, or hub drains. Equipment and finish schedule. This and that floor plan are all on one sheet over on that paper. But we want a list of your equipment and the make and model number. Spec sheets are preferable. If you give us the make and model number, then we have to look it all up ourselves and find the spec sheets. So if you want to cut down on cost, send us your spec sheets. And again, we're looking for commercial refrigeration especially, but we don't want to see a whole lot of home cooking equipment in general. But refrigeration is the big one. We also want to see a menu and your food preparation steps. We want to have you describing safe food handling practices, including things like when you're going to wash your hands, what temperatures you're cooking things to, when are you going to wash your produce. Hey.
Will my brick and mortar, because we've done all this for brick and mortar, will that translate already, or do I have to resubmit all that stuff as well?
You can resubmit, but you can ask whoever your inspector is that you're going through plan review with. You can just request those prep steps from your file and we'll pull them. We just can't pull them without you asking. So your prep steps should also include the time temperature controls used in preparation. And there's a great example over there on the table if you have more questions. I will say food prep steps are the thing that take the longest for us to go through. So the more thorough you are, the better. Otherwise, you're going to get a real long email asking you very specific questions about things you have on your prep list. And then your proposed itinerary. An example would be what farmers markets you're planning on going to or large events that you plan to attend. If you don't know, that's okay. We don't have to have that during plan review, but we do want to know once you figure that out. And then each year when you renew your permit, we want to have a list of your itinerary. It just helps the inspectors kind of plan out inspections and figure out what events we can see people at, rather than having to chase you down. And so you tell us and we won't have to contact you for it. And lastly, but still very importantly, we need the insignia. We don't need your letter from L&I necessarily. That's an approval letter, but this, we accept pictures of your insignia. If you're buying a used truck, as was mentioned, it's best if it already has been approved, but make sure that it is the actual sticker that belongs to that truck before you make a very big purchase. Because people are stealing these and it's becoming a lot more common. And then after, oh, go ahead.
Sorry, it's because we were at a meeting last week and this question came up. So is the health department calling L&I directly to verify that that sticker belongs to that unit? It was
We
a
are
question.
not.
Okay. It was a question that came up in a different county, and they sometimes call because they came across a situation where the sticker was red. And that that just means that it was an old sticker from 1990,
Prior to 1996.
1996.
We have a handout for our inspectors that have like the different versions of the sticker that we accept based on like what year they came out. Now it's the gold and black one, but we've got a picture
okay.
of that red one too. But we don't currently call and check with L&I, but we could talk about that being part of our process. It's just more plan review time for people, which is expensive. So is there something that someone going through plan review could get from you that proves that they're attached so they don't have to pay us for plan review time to get in touch with L&I?
So if they email that FAS1 email inbox and they're thinking about buying one, they can just send an email, say, hey, I have this, I'm thinking about purchasing this. Here's the VIN number. Can you please verify? Because the other question that also came up was they wanted to know if we had a database, like a public database that anybody that's accessible to the public, that anybody could go on our website and say, hey, I need to look up this VIN number, see if it has an insignia sticker. I don't recall, you followed up on that question?
I did. I took it to our chief, Melissa McBride. I took it to her and I'm awaiting an answer and then I'll share it with them.
Yeah, something like that would be awesome. The other option, like WSDA, they permit, cottage food licensees and food processors, and they just release a list every couple of weeks or once a month. If you don't want to build a whole database, there's other options, but having a reference like that that we could check it ourselves would make the process a lot more simple. But it is probably a good idea for us to check those, or someone should be verifying them at some point. Okay, and then once you go through plan review and you get your beautiful approval letter, you have to have a pre-operational inspection. So that's conducted after your plans are approved. At the pre-operational inspection, we generally don't go to your house, but we do want your unit to be functional. So a lot of people will bring generators. Never thought about an RV park. That's also a great idea. But we want your cold holding equipment functional so we can make sure that it's operating correctly. We want to make sure that the water is hot. And we can verify hand washing temperatures at 100 degrees and dishwashing at 110 degrees. We charge $160 per hour for the inspection, and that includes travel time. So if you come to us, it saves a significant amount of money. After your successful pre-operational inspection, we will hand you your beautiful permit. How are we doing for time? Question.
The time is dictated by how fast I can walk this mic.
I get asked this all the time and I don't have the answer. Depending on your business, you do not have to have a 3 comp sink in your commercial vendor unit. Is that correct?
Depends on the mobile unit, and it depends on what you have access to at your commissary kitchen.
If you're like just a coffee cart, can you just have a hand wash sink in there if that's all you're doing is coffee? I get asked this all the time because people are plumbing for the 3 comp sinks with a hand wash sink and all that, and they're like, "Do I need all this?" I don't have that answer.
I don't think so, but honestly, I've
It-
done very few of these full reviews, and every one I've seen has had a 3 compartment sink. But I would be happy to email you. I can answer that when I get back to the office.
And I know each thing's individual, and I
It
totally
is, and
agree
it's
with
so
that.
individual based on your operation and that kind of thing. But I did recently tell someone who came in who is looking to start a mobile coffee business that they could omit the 3 comp sink in their unit if they had access right there in their commissary. And it does impact, like water capacity needs and things like that. But I can verify and get back to you just to make sure we're all on the same page.
I think I've seen some of the bonus slides, so I think you should share the bonus slides if there's some of the ones we looked at the TFE.
They're mostly less pretty than the TFE slides. They're just mobile specific rules. Does anyone want to go through those?
Yes.
Yay! Okie dokie. So, fresh and wastewater. You have to have a 15% larger waste tank capacity than your fresh water. Per the code, the minimum requirement is 5 gallons of fresh water, but that for us is exclusively for hot dog carts. There are very few things you can do on a mobile food truck that require 5 gallons or less of hot water. Question.
That's the same as L&I requires.
Yes.
Great. Love it when a good plan works out. And then if you are doing something other than a hot dog cart, we can help you do calculations based on your operation, how many hours, how many employees, and the complexity of your menu, and help you calculate how big they need to be. TCS foods on mobile food units. All TCS foods prepared on the unit have to be served that day or discarded. You cannot bring TCS foods back to your commissary and reuse them.
For someone who doesn't work in food, what does TCS mean?
Time, temperature, control for safety food. If you have to keep it cold to keep it safe, that's a TCS food.
Thank you.
It used to be called a PHF for potentially hazardous food, which people really preferred, but we in Washington had our own phrase, and we decided to take on the FDA terminology, which is
When did
TCS.
that switch?
2022.
Okay, yeah, I definitely had a food handler permit way before that time.
Yeah, me too. Getting used to TCS versus PHF was hard for me as a former food worker. Temperature control, no cooling on mobile food units. You want to make sure you're controlling temperature while you're transporting. If you can't have your units turned on, like a generator running while you are, I don't know how the electricity works in a mobile unit, but if you can't keep your refrigerators running while you're running your mobile food unit, use coolers or something to keep your foods cold and your hot foods hot. And then also highly recommend always preheat and pre-chill your equipment before you put your food in it, especially, like countertop hot holding units. Those take forever to heat up water, you guys. Like put hot water in them, then turn them on. Don't put cold water in them. If you want to set up and be operational within an hour, you absolutely can't start with cold water. And hot holding violations are an automatic reinspection, you guys. So we don't want any of that.
And you pay for the reinspection, right?
You sure do. It's $190. Nobody wants me to come back. Commissary usage. It's required for almost every single mobile food unit. You renew your agreement every year, and a lot of people are like, what? It's true, because people change commissaries a lot, and they never tell us when they do. I mean, they do sometimes, but it's pretty rare, and that's why we want to verify every single year that you actually have a commissary space available to you. Your mobile food unit needs to be returned to the commissary at a regular frequency, and you do need to document your presence at your commissary in a log and keep those logs for a year, and we can ask you to see them. Is there a question?
My question is, if you want to start, you have to have a commissary kitchen and also agreement with them to use their equipment in your sign up, because you don't have anything to register when you want to start.
So like before you start your business, basically?
Correct.
So usually people kind of go through the plan review process and find their commissary at around the same time. And then they sign some sort of an agreement that they can start on a certain date. Does that answer your question?
Right.
Okay. So at your commissary, you need to have access to a 3-compartment sink and you need a 3-compartment sink, and if possible, other warewashing like dishwashers and stuff, that helps. Adequate hot and cold holding equipment, food preparation sinks. If you need a food preparation sink, not everybody has an operation that requires one of those. Hand washing sink, at least one, and it has to be within 25 feet and conveniently located to warewashing and food preparation areas. You need to have the ability to clean and sanitize food and non-food contact surfaces. And you also need to have adequate storage space for your food, your equipment, your utensils, your linens, and all of your single service items. It's a lot of stuff to keep at a commissary. Some of it you can fit on your truck, but anything that can't be contained within your truck has to go to the commissary. Employee restrooms. Employees must have access to restrooms within 500 feet during all hours of operation if you operate for an hour or more. If you're only operating for a quick 45 minutes lunch, then we don't require that, but otherwise 500 feet. A lot of people have like commissary agreements, say you're going to like the Hilliard area where people can set up their food trucks kind of deal. There's a lot of businesses that have commissary agreements with mobile food units so that their employees can use the bathrooms. And they also need to have adequate hand washing facilities. What does that mean? Hot water, soap, paper towels. No reusable towels in restrooms. What's up? Oh, okay. Required postings. I ran out of time for pictures, so here we are at the end of these slides. So the original copy of your current food establishment permit is supposed to be posted in your unit, and it should be accessible or viewable by your customers. And you also have to permanently display your business name on the exterior of your unit in printed letters at least 4 inches in height. That is in the code. So I have never put a ruler to someone's business name on a mobile food unit, but if I wanted to, 4 inches. And then food and equipment protection. So like I've said, this is the 3rd time, all your stuff needs to be protected and on your unit or in your commissary kitchen or at an approved servicing area, which would be like if you're operating at Pig Out in the Park and they have refrigeration trucks that you can keep your food in during the event, things like that. Any more questions?
Before I turn that over, I will say, in addition to all of those things you have to have listed, there's some other things that L&I would like you to have: your business license, where people can see it because you're operating out in public; your workers' compensation certificate, where your employees can see it; the 3 required L&I posters that are back on the table. So if you don't have the current ones, take them, or we'll bring you more. Am I missing something, L&I?
There is I have
Oh,
Mike.
sorry.
There is a recent requirement of 2022 as well, where if you have a fire suppression system in your unit, it has to include the person who tested it and said it's in operational status. Their name and the certificate has to be mounted near the fire suppression canister or system so that a fire marshal can see it. It lists the person's name and that they were certified by the manufacturer of the system that's installed. So if you have an Ansel system, you can't have Oxark approve an Ansel system. It has to be done by someone who was trained and approved by Ansel to test and approve their system. And we are now requiring that be posted in a conspicuous location near the fire suppression canister so that a fire marshal can see that it's been properly tested and approved for use for that year.
So I have a question then. Is that just for food trucks or for any business that has a fire suppression system?
That is a requirement of ours for food trucks and trailers only.
Okay. All right. So, any questions for the health district or LNI while you have them captive for a little bit longer? Yes. Next time, I'm just going to mic you up.
So Spokane Regional Health is going to want us to have an LNI sticker on a unit that we're working outside of, but currently not required.
We're gonna figure that out. Hot dog cart, no. As far as what I tell people is, if you have to step onto the unit to prepare food, you need LNI. But
I agree with you. A bit of advice for any of you who consider going into this. Everybody wants their food truck inspected and approved between May and October. And nobody wants to see us in November, December, January, February, March, or May. Okay? But that's when we are the least busy.
Same.
And we can do the best, the most amount of work and get it accomplished. So if you're considering it, submit them during those times. It'll help you get through the process faster, because the pile grows exponentially from May through August. It's unbelievable. I mean, there are literally thousands of plans that come into LNI for approval, and it's just a huge undertaking. And so, if you can do it during the off-peak season, we'd love that.
Do you think there's gonna be like kind of grandfather clauses? Like if I was like approved by Spokane Regional Health right now, but not LNI, and then all of a sudden we have to have LNI inspections, is there like a grandfather clause for that, or I'll just have to go get inspected and go from there?
you know, honestly, that's never been a question someone's asked me. To me, it seems
I'm
like
your guy.
It's asked of us all the time. All the time. Can I operate before we get your insignia? And the legal answer is no. You cannot operate while you don't have our insignia. What we ask is, you may want to contact your health department and they may grant you a temporary use if you can show that you've submitted your plans, you're just waiting for the stuff to come back. And if they are willing to grant it, we do not oppose it. And again, like I said, we're not the vendor unit police. We don't go chasing people around. But if the health department is in agreement, especially if it's a super simple unit like a coffee truck, and you just want to get your daughter out there working, so she's making money, and it's a de minimis unit. It's been submitted to plan review. You've paid all your fees. You have all the proof. Well, we don't care if you operate it or not, as long as you have their approval.
what if it's already
Health departments are becoming more and more resistant to offering those types of conditions. So I would expect that they're going to say no steadfastly really soon, because there are still some that will get you a 1-year temporary use issuance until you get your stuff back from us. Because like I said, during COVID, we were 2 years behind on doing plan reviews because we had no staff. And so people were freaking out. And so we asked the health departments, hey, can you give these guys a little bit of latitude? It's our fault. It's not their fault. And there was some agreement to that, but it's slowly waning because we're no longer as far behind as we were. And really, all of us don't want you to operate until you're totally licensed.
Sure. So I'm sorry. So I understand that. I'm specifically talking about like at this very moment, we don't need LNI to operate outside of a truck, but we do need Spokane Regional Health. We're not going to need to get, like if I was operating today, then tomorrow it comes out where I need LNI inspections. Am I grandfathered into my permit still?
I think he means that there will be a lapse in his permit because now he doesn't meet the LNI requirement.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's a great question that I've still never answered, but I would be happy to send out a Q&A or give me your email and I can let you know. These are all good things to think about because this requirement with the multi-jurisdictional requirement is fairly new. So
and now add in the fire department as well. So if you have a
Yeah.
fire suppression system, from what I understand, they are showing up at events. They are checking your hood. They're going to also verify your fire extinguishers. Everybody check your fire extinguishers, make sure they're up to date, what they're supposed to be operating in there, because they can maybe not shut you down, but they can actually hold you at the event until you get the proper fire extinguisher or verify that you have everything working. So they're going to be very adamant about that this year because they're trying to get their system out. So be aware of them.
yeah, well, and they inspect it every event I've been at. I've seen fire marshals there doing inspections too. So yes.
So I got a question about, street carts, standing off of the cart, nobody's
Mhm.
getting on it. We're cooking off of it. Has the whole rotunda going around what all we needed. Yet I was talking with somebody last week and they told me that Washington might not approve a street cart due to due to the use of meats or temperature regulation on meats. So I'm not too sure.
I
They
mean,
they
are
would
you just talking about like a food cart? Like just a
it's basically a street cart. It has the grills on it, everything on it. I mean, I'll be doing everything live presentation, pretty much. Um, that is a question on that is a question on with the health department. Is there a regulation that I would need to abide by to get that going in a sense, as in meat regulations or temperatures of meat or anything like that?
We have a lot of barbecue trucks, for
Okay.
example, that are pull behind, not stand on, but they're stand at units.
Yes.
They have the same temperature regulation requirements, right? You still have
Yes.
to keep meats cold, and once they're cooked, they still need to stay hot, and you need to have the
Understandable.
ability to do that.
Yes. Okay. Okay. Well, I mean that opens back up because they had told me that Washington would probably not go ahead and let me have my what was it, my certs to get that done due to the meat. Yeah. So
Yeah, I would have to know more, I guess, specifically about the meat, but as far as I mean, we let people barbecue off these
okay.
carts all the time and
Okay,
stuff.
that's all I needed to know
Like
there.
I mean, we'll make sure you have enough water capacity. You have to have hand washing abilities and things like that. You can't
Okay.
just have a meat wagon without
Understandable.
any like
Yes,
hand
yes. No,
washing.
no, no. No, I understand. I mean,
But
the regulation on it and everything. I mean, I've had the specs of it all done to a sense to where I know it's comfortable and it's up to par. It's just when I brought it up to another fella in a different department, he told me that state of Washington doesn't really do that. The only thing I'd probably get away with is a hot dog cart. So, I mean, that's actually what he told me straight up. And he was like, I mean, I got 3 or 4 different options to go on street cart. I mean, I would rather go street live presentation than be inside of a trailer, to be honest.
sure,
That's just, I mean, I'm just more comfortable socializing and talking and, serving. But I mean, with
sure.
that being said, that's why, I was asking that question though.
I think that would be fine, but I would definitely recommend if you have an example, like a picture
Yes, ma'am.
example.
Yes.
We have food safety program cards there. I would definitely recommend you like send us an email and we can show the picture of what exactly you're talking about just to make sure we're all on the same page,
Okay.
and we can talk to our technical advisor about it.
All right. I appreciate you.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Maybe adding to your question, maybe do the permits change like when using raw meat? Like, would they have to have a TFE permit, or it would be different?
Nope. So when you have a mobile unit, you don't have the same kind of, if you use raw meat, you need this kind of a permit. It's not quite like that. So that is only exclusively for our temporary food establishment. So with our temporary food establishment permits, we permit you based on risk. So our highest risk level are people who are working with raw meats. Those requirements do not apply to a mobile food unit or a caterer. You guys have the ability as a mobile food unit to cook food, to cook raw meat, you could be a vegetable only operation or you could be like a meat wagon. You've got options.
I had another question from another topic. I get a lot of people that wonder if they have a food truck, right? Do they submit a plan in the plan for health district? Do they submit a plan where they're gonna operate? Can they operate in different parts of town? And do what permits or what regulations do they have to have?
They have to follow city code. So the city has their own kind of requirements on where people are allowed to set up and how long.
When you make your initial submission, you list all of the locations that you intend to operate during that year. So that way they don't have to call you to chase you down for your inspection.
Exactly.
And so you would be identifying, I'm going to work in these 6 locations in 2025. And that answers.
But you aren't limited to those, right? We want your itinerary the best you know, but
Yeah.
like if your permit is renewing in January, you don't know what you're doing during the warmer months. So you might add events throughout the year, and that is okay. When you have a mobile food unit, you have the ability to operate as you please. You don't have to operate in conjunction with a publicly recognized event like you do with a TFE.
We have a question over here. So, excuse me. How do coffee stand trailers where do they fall with the health department? If you're not serving food, you're only serving beverages. Do you need to have a commissary? You still have milk, so I know refrigeration.
Depends on your unit. Depends on if you have the ability to wash your dishes on your unit. Most of our coffee trucks have a commissary.
Okay.
Yep.
Anyone else? I'm going to walk to the front if no one else has questions to thank all of our speakers for being here. Some of them traveled to be here. So thank you very much to Amy from the Regional Health District, to Andrea, who actually traveled to be here, to Dawn, and to Richard. Again, I'm Robin at Simba. There are so many materials in this room, it can be overwhelming. So part of the reason we have people like Simba or Latinos in Spokane, some other organizations, is to help guide you. So if you forgot things, reach out to us. We'll tell you where it is. We will find it. We are literally resource partners with LNI, so we can help direct you to the right people and get you to the right places. We can also help review applications with you. Mostly we help review them for completeness, because we know in every application, whether it's with LNI or the Regional Health District or for a grant or for a loan, if you miss something, sometimes you just get rejected. So we are here to do that at no cost. Please take treats. They have been prepared with a licensed commercial cottage kitchen, and everything was in a refrigerator till it arrived here. So everything is safe for your consumption. And again, if you have other questions or have our other ideas, like I mentioned, we're working on a workplace safety plan event coming up. So workplace safety is for everyone. Also, wage and hour law. Dawn gave a lot of examples about getting your child out working, and Dawn did not mention, and the pamphlet I hand out to everyone, especially family-owned businesses, is you have to pay your family members in Washington. You have to pay them, and they have to be legally old enough to work. And a minor work permit. So I have heard a few stories of inadvertent running into LNI folks. They're out in the wild. They go to farmers markets too, where maybe a minor hands them a cupcake at a farmer's market. Not a great idea. So we can help you navigate that as well, because we don't fine and we don't report. So thank you again so much for being here. Thanks to our friends at Vexing Media who are recording this. We are going to run it again after we get the recording back, in a way that I'll run it as a Zoom with Q&A, and I'll pause it and answer questions to the best of our ability. And then after that, we will post it live, so you can get access to it on our YouTube. We have some other resources on there as well, if you need them. And yes, the rest of the library is locked. Unfortunately, the bathrooms are locked because we got approval to be here after hours, but there is a Walmart right over there that has restrooms. Thank you very much for your time tonight.